Welcome back to Lepodcast, episode 22. As always, you're here with Hoop, Saney, and the infamous ZZ Huncho. When I tell you that we couldn't even get started before these two started arguing about Klay Thompson, we went live on TikTok together before that game against the Suns where he got ejected, and there were some talks of him being washed, a very strong defender of him not being washed. But that's going to be a big topic for today. It is already heated in this room. Like I'm starting to sweat. I'm just the moderator, but those boys are ready to get at it. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get straight into today's lineup, which is the headlines. Then can Klay still play? Shai Gorgeous-Alexander, and this or that. Before I do so, how you guys feeling about today's show?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling absolutely spontaneous. Saney obviously has his thought processes about Klay Thompson and his ideas of what the term washed means. We obviously see two different terms. And hopefully we'll be able to, make amends at the end of it.
Here's the thing. You guys failed to bring up the fact that in the live, I admitted I used the word washed harshly. But I still don't think he is nowhere near the same Klay Thompson that he even was last season after his injury. And I believe he's going down that route of progressively becoming more and more washed as a player.
Z is already rolling his eyes.
Like he's on his way to becoming washed. He's not washed yet. I said I used the word washed harshly in the live yesterday. But I haven't been proven wrong yet. That's the crazy part.
Yes, and ladies and gentlemen, mind you, it's only been 4 games and he hasn't been proven wrong yet. Just keep that in mind.
Keep that same energy for Westbrook.
It's like his.
Oh, that's a different energy for Russell Westbrook.
When I was watching that game later that night, I thought that his argument with Booker was going to be the rings because as of right now, I mean, we're going to get into it, but I don't think he's close to Book. How would you guys feel if you were significantly better than another player and they brought up the ring argument when they have Steph Curry on the team? Like that would be really annoying.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can't argue it. You can't argue it because it's like, you know what? You do have 4 rings, but you know what? You also had Kevin Durant for 2 years, and you know what? You also played an injured Cavs team 1 year, and you know what? Last year the Celtics won. I'll give them one. The Celtics won. I'll give them. And injuries are part of the sport. Injuries are part of the sport. I get it. I'm just saying,
going into a matchup, like that's annoying to hear.
Well, you're also hearing it from someone who was supposed to meet you in the Western Conference Finals, but couldn't because Luka had to spank him real quick. Ooh. So that's if I'm Klay Thompson, I'm like, yeah, sorry you couldn't make it that far, buddy. But we've done this 6 times. Like, what are you talking about? But whatever. When you're greatness, it's not. I understand that.
They didn't win 6 times. They went 6 times. They didn't win. They
went 6 times. You know what that does? It takes a toll on your body. It also makes you one of the most historical big threes of all time.
And it also makes you. And it also makes you. It also makes you washed. It also makes you washed.
All right.
Roll the
let's
tape.
see if Chet's washed when he gets back, huh? All right, let's go. Keep going.
See, that's the issue with you. You don't have real backup points. You just bring up my favorite players.
I do. I'm waiting to get
That's
into
the
it.
issue. That's the issue.
No, Sandy, you're hypocritical in the fact of calling a player washed and being a Russell Westbrook
What did I
fan.
say? But here's the thing.
And yet,
I said I used the word washed harshly. Number 1, I never said that Westbrook wasn't washed. Number 2, I admitted that I used the word washed harshly in the live, but you guys just love to jump on the getting mad because you don't have a real point to make, so you feel that raising your voice.
Hold on.
You doubled down after we got on your ass.
You said you guys. Am I
Sorry,
Hoop.
In this? I apologize, Hoop. You, Z Huncho.
Word. Thank you.
Okay. But you know what? The thing is, I will give you this, Z. I'm not gonna be a hypocrite because I do the same thing. I raise my voice when people talk about Westbrook because that's the only way that you can do anything to make yourself feel better, and I respect that because that's where confidence comes from, and I will address that. That is a good that I respect that trait about you. But I am going to be calm this whole conversation because I just have straight facts.
I highly doubt that.
Hold on.
No. You know what? I won't be calm when he brings up Westbrook because I know Z's going to bring up Westbrook. I know his ass is bringing up Westbrook. I know it.
You know what's going to happen. If someone brings up something other than Klay Thompson or there's shooting guards in the league, I'm going to cut it there because I'm the moderator. I'm going to,
This guy thinks he can end the combo, Z. Come on, let's
All
Hey, let's
right,
go.
no,
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm not trying not to allow cheap shots, but starting off with the headlines before I get into Klay Thompson. The Lakers are 0-4. They lost to the Nuggets last night. Jokic was throwing some dots. There was one
Yeah.
he had to Aaron Gordon in the corner where he
Yeah, I
didn't
saw
even
that one.
look. He didn't even look to know if he was there. He just saw the rest of his players and he's like, "Yep, he's there." Pop. And then he didn't shoot it. He took a baseline and got stuffed. But there has only been 2 teams in NBA history, I saw this on, I believe it was Bleacher Report, that have made it to the playoffs after starting 0-4. Both of them led by Russell Westbrook, but now it looks like Russ is going to be gone from the Lakers very soon. I should not have said that. But my question is, it's coming from the fact that LeBron is probably not going to be a threat in the playoffs this year, maybe next year, but the Lakers are just a complete dumpster fire. So this is the question: what has damaged LeBron's legacy more, himself or his circumstances?
Um,
So
his
go for it.
circumstances, 110% his circumstances, because there is only one major L LeBron has taken in his career that I will fully or confidently say that was fully LeBron's fault, and that was the 2011 Finals against the
Yeah,
Mavs.
I was about to bring that
That
up.
was the one situation where it's like, you know what? If you're a LeBron, whether you're a LeBron hater or you just, Skip Bayless, you can bring that up for sure if you want to bring up LeBron's woes in his career, 100%. That Mavs series, in my opinion, I think everybody's opinion, that was the worst series LeBron has ever been through. That was definitely the lowest point in his career. Every other L LeBron has taken, and I say L very lightly, because if you look at how LeBron James was playing, both eye test and the stat sheet, he dominates, and he shows that he dominates. He hasn't been playing up to the LeBron James standard I have him at, of course, but he's also in year 20, and I don't believe there's any other year 20 NBA player in history that comes close to this LeBron James, of course. So I think you got to tread lightly when you talk about LeBron James L's, because basketball is a team sport. And like, for example, 2018, like, how the hell are you going to get a 50-point triple-double and J.R. Smith going to run the opposite way? Like, how is that LeBron James' fault? You know what I mean? And I feel like that one game, and momentum plays a huge factor in sports, especially. So I feel like that kind of just like ripped away any hope the Cavs had. And again, it's a team sport, so I would say circumstances for sure.
I would agree as well. I think that it's the circumstances. I think that that's pretty clear when you look back at, like you said, the track record. LeBron literally only has one bad series in my head that it's like a go-to, and that's 2011. But when you're great, like LeBron James is, and when you're among the all-time greats, and the fact that LeBron went to like 6-7 more finals after that, you kind of can look past it when you think about the fact that he is at the table of the greatest of all time. However, when you look at the last couple of years, like the other day I was thinking to myself, LeBron has been in LA for 4 years and has won a championship in one of those years, and the other 3 has either been knocked out of the playoffs or not made it into the playoffs. So now everybody is pointing fingers at the Laker organization when you're looking at Russell Westbrook being out of games, and it's not his fault because they're still losing. As you can see, LeBron had 8 turnovers last night. But the thing to me is, the only way I could even say that I could give a little bit of blame to LeBron, only thing in the past couple of years, is the construction of the last 2 rosters. The old head roster.
I'd give him more blame than you're going to give him.
I can see why. I can see why he deserves. But a part of me I've given him the blame for it before, and people have told me in my comments like, well, I mean, you can't say that he expected this to happen, which I can give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, you got to think, maybe LeBron was really thinking like, okay, me, AD, and Russ, because they were all talking at one point before the trade even went through, about teaming up. So I can't, because LeBron has had success with these team ups before with like Wade and Bosh, I can't knock him that much for thinking that another big 3 might work. And honestly, when you look at the power rankings and all that stuff, when the trade went through before last season started, people were having them as number 1 ranked team in the power rankings to win the title. So it's like, and then LeBron also tweeted out that tweet of keep that same energy and keep talking about our age and all that stuff. And then they didn't make the playoffs like some people expected. That's where I can give him a little bit of that blame. But at the same time, when I'm looking at the Lakers right now, LeBron is literally leading them in points, rebounds, and assists in year 20. about to be 38 years old. Like,
also with the Westbrook trade, I wouldn't give him as much blame as you guys would, because you guys got to remember Westbrook was coming off like a historical run with the Wizards. Like people
No, but
still
you know what's happening? We all knew, the people on NBA TikTok, like when we were discussing the trade, like no one said they're going, like, unless you were a Lakers fan. Most
right.
people were like, "How is this going to work?"
I have
they were
so many
mentioning
receipts, so many
they
receipts of
were
me saying they were gonna win. So many.
they were
Really?
mentioning Buddy Hield at the time. At least I was, and people in my comments.
Right, I was
we were
too.
mentioning Buddy Hield at the time.
Mhm.
It's just been a constant theme. I didn't think he was going to fall off this bad. Like, I didn't think he was going to be that bad a fit. But I think most people knew that it wasn't, two ball dominant guys weren't going to gel together.
The thing is, too, I was watching, I think it was a Swish Out YouTube video, but he was talking about how over the last couple of years, people have been placing the blame for the Lakers' failures on multiple different people, Russell Westbrook included, Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, and LeBron, and Anthony Davis's knees. Like, everybody's been getting the blame. But when I'm looking at Rob Pelinka, for example, and the way that he deconstructed that 2020 championship team so much, ripped away everything that made them a damn championship team, starting with defense and then trying to replace the defense and the shooting with nostalgia and Carmelo Anthony. And then from that, we get to this roster, which is significant. I feel like this roster is literally worse than last year's roster, because when you look at
Melo could hit some threes.
Yeah, Melo could hit some threes. You got it. I was saying this the other day. LeBron James in the starting lineup. Like, okay, look at the starting lineup. You got LeBron, you got Pat Bev, you got Russ. This is the one that started off. Russ, Pat Bev, Lonnie Walker, LeBron, AD. Who's the best shooter in that lineup?
LeBron James.
Saney. LeBron. But
LeBron.
would y'all believe that LeBron James was shooting 26% from three in the first 3 games, right? That first 3 game stretch.
I would believe it because the whole
26%.
Lakers team,
Right. 26% though was the best out of the group. Russell Westbrook was the lowest at 8. But you have Anthony Davis shooting 20. Lonnie Walker, for some reason, people will keep saying, "Oh, he can shoot. He can shoot. He's athletic as hell, but he can't shoot. Like, he needs to stop shooting."
No, he's a knockoff Malik Monk.
There you go. And Malik Monk.
He's a raw version of Malik Monk.
And then you add on to that with Patrick Beverley, somebody who went from being a 4th to 5th option, somebody that was like, "Oh yeah, Patrick Beverley's over." When you're a defense and you were looking at the Clippers offense last year, you were like, or a couple years ago, you were like, "Oh, they got Kawhi, they got Paul George, they got this guy. Oh yeah, Patrick Beverley in the corner." That's what he needs to be doing. He needs to be one of those guys where you're like, okay, the defense is broken down to a point where our last option is a corner Patrick Beverley 3. I'll take that. Not Patrick Beverley going out there.
They need volume shooters.
Exactly.
They have role players who are not used to taking this many threes. But for my answer to the question, I think looking from the Jordan LeBron debate, it's been circumstances that has led to he didn't get a depoy, he lost one to Marc Gasol, like that kind of stuff. Like maybe if he didn't play with such a terrible team in Cleveland, maybe some of this Lakers stuff. But I think the public perception, when you're looking at how people view LeBron right now, there's a lot to blame on him. The thing that pops in my mind is the series against Phoenix with their first round exit, when he was like walking back on defense. If you replace LeBron with Giannis, but you give Giannis that, play style, like basically you're just changing the people. Like Giannis is that full effort,
like
the mindset and his presence, like just as a person outside the NBA, he would be viewed as a much different basketball player. So for that aspect, the lack of effort at times, that's definitely on LeBron. But when it's 20 years from now, no one's going to remember that. You're just looking at their accolades. I'll say circumstances.
Right.
I think LeBron deserves some blame. So time for the fun. Can Klay still play? I guess we're going to open up with Saney's initial take on what was that game?
Saney takes take. All right. So if you weren't in our live, we've been going live on Tuesday nights. Make sure to tune in, you bots.
Yeah, we'll be there.
On TikTok through Lepodcast. If you go on the podcast, you'll see all of our accounts. So we had a bit of a discussion about Klay Thompson right before the Suns game. And I admitted during the live, so I don't feel like I have to admit it on the pod as well, but I will, again, because I know you're going to bring up the fact I said it. I said that Klay Thompson is washed. Now, that was very harsh of me to say through only 3 games at the time, now 4 games through the season. I admitted to that. But I do not take back my point that Klay Thompson has regressed significantly as an NBA player. Now, when you hear me say that, people just tend to look at the box score, the stat sheet, and they think that's the only thing I'm looking at. No, you got to look at both ends of the court, not just offense, but defense, his presence on the court. My apologies. Beforehand, Klay Thompson used to be a guy where he could shift the whole game by himself. The gravity would lean towards him. He's not that guy anymore. He's not as much of a threat as he used to be anymore in the past. And I'm going to bring up some stuff for you, Z, and I hope you don't cut me off because I'm going to be talking calmly. And I'm only bringing up facts. I'm not bringing up anything to go at you. I'm just bringing up straight numbers. And then I'm going to let you say your piece after I say mine, and then we can go to the arguing. But we'll look at Klay Thompson's stats. And again, like I said, it's only been 4 games. Don't take these stats too out of context for the listeners, but the gist of it is just to prove that Klay Thompson has taken a step back. 11 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 2.8 assists, obviously career lows in every single stat I'm mentioning, by the way. He has a career low in everything. 0.2 steals, 0.2 blocks, 35.6% from field goal, 28.6% three-point. Worst defensive rating he's ever had in his career with a rating of 119.1, which is significantly lower than the defensive rating he averages for his career, which is 108 point. I don't have the exact number, but it's in the 108 ball range. Tied for the second highest turnovers per game in his career, even though he is averaging a career low in minutes. So he's averaging about like 8 less minutes than he would in his career, but he's still tied for second most turnovers per game that he's averaged. Second lowest free throw percentage he's had in his career. He's not taking that many free throws per game, so fine, and it's not terrible. It's still at like 80%, but I'm just telling you stats. He's regressing in everything. That's the point of all this. And if you watch the games, his shot selection has not been great. He hasn't been able to capitalize. Defensively, he's not the same. And if I'm the Warriors, my starting lineup does not include Klay Thompson. My starting lineup goes with Steph and Jordan Poole in the backcourt, Andrew Wiggins at forward, Draymond and James Wiseman in the front. Z, I'm going to let you start giving your points onto why you think that Klay Thompson isn't regressing significantly. He can regress a little, if that's your point, but you can tell me why you don't think that he has regressed significantly as an NBA player.
And to clarify yourself, Z, explain what kind of player you expect him to be. Like, what can he
trust
produce
me, I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Do that. So, Klay Thompson, ladies, not bad. Let us all pause for the honorable sip from the honorable ZZ Huncho.
This is the last second of silence we're getting for the next 10 minutes. That Brita water good.
It is. Now, ZZ Huncho's thoughts about Klay Thompson are very simple because I've seen Klay Thompson from the moment that he walked into the league in 2011. Klay Thompson, on the season, like Sandy said, is averaging 11. He's shooting 36%. I think you said 28 from 3, right? 28? Okay. So, Klay Thompson is known as a top 5 shooter of all time. He is also known as one half of the Splash Brothers. And the role that Klay Thompson has played throughout the course of the first 8 or 9 years of his career was a two-way guard. As a matter of fact, in 2000, and you can point to 16, 17, like around that time, Klay was looked at as arguably one of the best two-way guards in the league at the shooting guard spot specifically. Now, when we point back to the first time or the last time that Klay Thompson played over 50 games, that was in 2019. He played 78 games and averaged 22 a game. And he averaged those numbers on 40% shooting from 3 and 46 from the field goal from field goals.
Those stats, though, I think those stats.
Hey, Sandy,
Sorry,
no.
I was going to agree with him. I was actually helping his point out, but.
So fast forward 3 years or 2.5 years, 2 more injuries plus a torn MCL and a torn Achilles. 32 games last season. He averaged 20 a game, 90% from the line, 39% from 3, 43 from the field. Not to mention the playoffs where Klay Thompson had a good game in every single series, including game 6s where he reestablished himself as game 6 Klay after 2 years. So the point that I'm trying to make here is Klay Thompson's role on this team has changed drastically since he walked into the league. At one point, he was looked at as a number 2 option. Then Sandy pointed to the Kevin Durant years. He was looked at as a number 3 option. Even in those years, he averaged less points per game than he did last year. So Klay's had down years before and is a spurt type of player. He's not inconsistent like Andrew Wiggins was labeled as prior to locking up Jason Tatum in the finals and dunking on Luka. But Klay Thompson is a spurt type of guy. So when I look at Klay Thompson, I'm looking at him coming off of his 2 injuries. I said before he stepped on the court again that he was going to regress on defense. That's a given. The problem is Klay Thompson regressing on defense is not going to be that big of a deal for the Golden State Warriors. That was another point that I made because the Warriors essentially play a team defense, and if they are revolving around anybody, it's Draymond Green. So Klay's job is to be that 6'6" wing that can play the passing lanes. Andrew Wiggins is clearly the number 1 perimeter defender on this team besides Draymond Green, right? That's a given. But I would say that Klay Thompson's defensive game has now went down to the level of a Jordan Poole and Steph Curry, where we're not expecting them to play that great of a defense on whoever they're guarding. And not to mention the fact that Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry, the 3 of them, are known as a big 3. That big 3 has played a lot of minutes from dating back to 2014 to now, right? Playoff minutes included. So the only person that's really on par with them in that category is LeBron, because LeBron went to 5 straight finals. But I'm saying that to say, when you are playing with this team and watching this dynasty, how many times have we seen a championship team win a championship and have a hangover? And what I mean by hangover is they open up the season a little bit slowly. The Warriors are 2-2. Open up the season a little bit slowly. Steph's out there averaging 30 a game on 45 and 46 from the field and 3. Steph's still doing his thing. Jordan Poole is taking a dip, a surprising dip. He's not logging in really great numbers, averaging across the board. But am I going to say Jordan Poole's bad or not one of the best shooters? Like, no, I'm not going to say that, because Jordan Poole is fresh off of a championship, and fresh off of not only that, but trolling the entire summer, celebrating, living it up. This last championship for the Warriors is arguably the best one that they won between the big 3 out of the 4, because A, the odds, they weren't projected for some reason to win, and B, it was relatively one of the hardest ones, especially when you look at the team that they were matched up against defensively. And even still, Klay Thompson had moments within the finals where he still showed up. He didn't play as bad in the finals as Draymond Green did, but when we're trying to say who's regressing between the 2 of those, we can't really point to Draymond because he's been averaging 8, 6, and 6 his whole career. So I'm saying it's been 4 games. Klay's averaging 11. He might be in a slump. Offensively, I'm not concerned with Klay Thompson at all. As a matter of fact, Klay Thompson took worse shots last season when he came back in the first 3 weeks than he's taken in the first 2 weeks of this season. And what did Steve Kerr say? We're going to keep letting him shoot until he finds his rhythm. And by the end of the season, and by the end of his 32 games, he was back up to averaging a point less than he had a year before, and then the year before that. And you know what I'm saying? That's my point on it. Klay Thompson I'm not worried about him at all. I said he was going to regress defensively. And I also want to give props to Saney, because he did address that he doubled down on his wash statement, which I was expecting him to do anyway, because I didn't think he really meant it like that. But I'm saying Klay Thompson is going to be fine at the end of the day. Offensively, I am not concerned at all. If Saney wants to take him off the bench, I'm not against it, because Jordan Poole can still carry some load or whatever. But if Steve Kerr finds trust in the Splash Brothers more than he does in Steph and Jordan Poole, I'm not going to be mad at him too, because the history books have shown it, even including the playoffs last year. They've shown it. Klay's still been Klay. So I just feel like, personally, I feel like Saney's sleeping on Klay a little bit, and that's why it's probably not sitting right with me. But I do hear your points. That's why I'm not screaming at you right now.
So I want to get both of your ideas as to where these guys.
Wait. No. I want to go back to some of the points. I want to go back to some of the points Z was making. Z, you mentioned that Klay Thompson showed up in the finals. I would argue that he just didn't do that. Klay Thompson had 1 game where he shot 50%. I'll give him that. 7 for 14. I believe it was game 5. That I'll give him that as a good game, but every other game he shot terribly. Game 1 he shot 6 for, or you know what? Terribly is a harsh word to use, because game 1 he shot 6 for 14, but then game 2 he shot 4 for 19. Game 3 and 4 he shot 7 for 17, and game 6 he shot 5 for 20. That is not showing up in the finals to me, especially when your role is being showing a shooter. And
it's also showing up for Klay standards. I will say
that's not showing up for Klay standards. That's not Klay standards for me.
Just keep going, Sandy.
That's not Klay Thompson's standards for me, because when I think Klay Thompson, I think a guy that can put the ball in the basket when you need him to, and he wasn't doing that in the finals. You said that he showed up in the finals. You termed it. You were terming it. If you want to say that he played decent, even then, it's like, all right, fine. But you said that he showed up. A player that shows up in the finals is a player that makes a true difference towards winning. I would argue the only game he made a true difference towards winning was in Game 5. That's the only game where he really showed up and helped the Warriors get the W. Every other game was a result of either Stephen Curry or Andrew Wiggins.
So let me get this straight. We're talking about the pivotal. That would make it that Game 5, considering that the series went to 6. That Game 5 would be kind of pivotal, wouldn't it? Considering all of the things that the Warriors
every finals game is pivotal. Every finals game is pivotal. Don't bring that. Every finals game is pivotal.
A Game 1 and a Game 5, which one has more weight?
Every finals game is pivotal. 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 Every game matters.
In a 6-game series, which game holds more weight? A Game 1 or a Game 5? And keep in mind, the Warriors.
I'm not answering this.
That's a weird point to make. You're arguing that his one game that he played decent.
No. What do you mean? He had a 21-point game in the finals and a 26-point game in the finals. He averaged 17 a game in the finals. The last finals that he averaged less than 20 in was 2018. And the reason that he shot so well was because he was a third option on that super team. And he was sitting in the corner. Like you said, props to having Kevin Durant on your team, especially being one of the top 5 shooters of all time. You're going to get a little bit more open than you are going against the number 1 defense in the league. I'm just not really seeing it right now. Draymond Green literally was the story of any player on the Warriors that played so bad that it affected the rest of the team. Klay Thompson did not do that. At least not in my eyes.
Klay Thompson to me. Klay Thompson to me. When
I
I think of Klay Thompson, and the reason I say Klay Thompson has regressed significantly is because before, when I thought of Klay Thompson, I thought of him as a guy on the court that you have to look to at all times because he can change the game at any point. He is a player just like Steph Curry, where the gravity shifts towards him. He can literally destroy your team by himself. If I'm talking previous Klay Thompson, to me, Klay Thompson has regressed significantly because I don't see him as that guy anymore. Do I see him as somebody I would want on my team? For sure. He's still a great shooter. My point isn't that Klay Thompson should be out the league and that he's a terrible player. And I think that's where me and you are getting mixed up. My point is that he regressed significantly. If I say LeBron James regressed significantly, and this is hypothetical, not saying he is, because LeBron James went from being a 30 points per game scorer to a just below 20 points per game scorer, and he's like the third option on a team. That doesn't mean LeBron James isn't a good player anymore, but it means he regressed significantly. I could say the same thing to Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson regressed significantly to me because Klay Thompson is one of those guys where beforehand you could put him on any system that fits him, and he will change the game for you instantly. And we've seen Klay Thompson do that in many occasions. We've seen Klay Thompson carry Stephen Curry when Steph Curry's having a bad shooting night. When the Warriors aren't playing great, he will put the ball in the basket. A great example was the Oklahoma series. The one that I remember very vividly. The one that Game 6 Klay became real. They don't go to the finals without Klay Thompson that year. You want to know why? Because Klay Thompson was that guy. There are many instances, and especially in every finals game that Klay Thompson has played, I can say that the Warriors could have won without him. Game 5 is the only one that you can say that they might have not won without him. And I'll be like, fair enough. But every other finals game, you can say that the Warriors could win without Klay Thompson. You can't say that about you can't say that about any other final series that Klay Thompson's been a part of other than this year.
You're saying that you can't say it. I can't.
Why can't you say that? Give me reasoning why though. Because I've given you. You're just giving me from the past.
No, what do you mean?
You brought up a Game 5. Let's look now. Tell me why the Warriors needed Klay Thompson in this final series. Tell me why.
In this final series.
Yeah, as a player. Don't say chemistry and stuff. I understand that, but I'm saying as a player. As a player.
As a player, because Klay Thompson has nothing to prove to anyone at all. Klay Thompson is a guaranteed Hall of Famer at this point in his career. Sandy, here's the difference between a guy like Klay Thompson. If there was anyone else, right? Anyone else. Let's say if this was SGA averaging 11 points right now through 4 games, what would you say? What would you say about SGA's performance?
There's a difference. Shai isn't coming off an injury and like 13 seasons into his career. Right. So I would be like, you know what? He's still young. He can still develop into something. We are far past Klay Thompson's peak. We are nowhere near Klay Thompson's peak, which is why I can confidently say he's regressing significantally because Klay Thompson has reached his peak and we have been far past it.
Sandy, what peak? 21 a game? Sandy, he averaged literally. If Klay Thompson
as a third option,
if Klay averages 20
as a third
points
option
per game this year,
as a
if he
third
averages
option.
that this year, As a third option, he
and
doesn't need
much
to be
more
a number
efficiently,
two option.
and much more efficiently as a third option, much more efficiently, and a player that can contribute to winning basketball. Don't just look at the stat sheet. There's an eye test to it as well.
Like he's been doing.
Been doing when? Been doing when? He's not contributing to winning basketball
test,
this season, even though it's only been 4 games. He was not contributing to winning basketball last year. What? Like, tell me, when has
he was. That's why he had That's why he had 2 game 6s. That's why he still got the media attention. That's why he was still recognized.
He's gonna get the media attention because he's on the Warriors. That is not a good point to bring up. That was not a great. So just because Russell Westbrook gets media attention, does that mean he's a great basketball player?
Oh wait, I thought we couldn't bring up Russell Westbrook in this debate.
No, I'm just using a point. I'm just using a point. That media attention makes no sense. That point made no sense.
Sandy, I'm looking at your logic and it's not making sense to me. I just feel like you're looking like there must be some deep rooted issue that you have with Klay.
I don't have any issue with Klay. I don't have any issue with Klay.
No. I'm saying if
as
you're
the
looking at
moderator,
Klay Thompson, what Hoop?
Finish up. I got a question for you guys.
If you're looking at Klay Thompson, you are looking at him in his 10th season, 11th season, already has accomplished everything that he's going to accomplish. We're not looking at Klay as a fucking perimeter NBA MVP. We're not looking at that. We're not looking at him as somebody who's going to make an All-NBA second team or first team. We're not looking at that. Your expectations of Klay might be a little bit too much for
You're proving my
else's
point. He's
expectations
regressing
for Klay.
significantly as an NBA player. You are proving my point.
To you.
You're proving my point because the Klay Thompson.
So I want to get
Klay Thompson is nowhere near to an all-star level player anymore, meaning he is regressing significantly. Because every year beforehand, you would think Klay Thompson is a 100% guarantee all-star. He is a 100% guaranteed top 5 shooting guard in the league, and he is one of the best 3-and-D players you could have. You can't say that about him anymore. You can't say that about him anymore. You are proving to me right now that my point is correct, that he is regressing significantly.
Hold on.
Klay Thompson does not need to. If you look at this Warriors team this year with Steph Curry, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, those 2 guys just got paid ahead of Klay. Obviously, they just got big bags. So if you mean to tell me that you thought that this season, Klay Thompson, the same Klay Thompson, off an MCL and Achilles injury, is going to be an all-star compared to Jordan Poole, who's probably going to win most improved player, compared to Andrew Wiggins, who was most improved player. I'm confused why that's your process.
But I also believe that if you put him on any other team, on any other team, he's not going to play at that Klay Thompson level that he used to before, meaning he regressed significantly. He has regressed significantly as a player. You're not understanding my point.
Guys, I need to cut this at some point. I need to cut this at some point.
I test and the stat sheet both. When you watch the Warriors games.
No. Hold on. I have a question.
The stats are so against you. The stats are so against you. The stats are against you. The stats are against you. It's a career low in everything. Career low in everything.
The stats through the first 4 games are against me. I don't care about the first 4 games.
But even in the playoffs, I proved to you. In like your point. In the finals, every series he's had it.
Who would be more productive last finals? Klay Thompson or Norman Powell?
Answer that question for me.
If you were to place Norman Powell with Klay Thompson on that Warriors finals team, who would be more productive during the course of that series?
Norman Powell is a completely different player than Klay Thompson. Norman Powell is a player that needs the ball in his hand. He's not a spot up shooter like Klay. That's a weird question. If you were to play, if you ask me a guy like Desmond Bane, I'll tell you Desmond Bane will destroy Klay Thompson in terms of productivity. Don't shake your. You're telling me Desmond Bane. You would rather Klay Thompson over Desmond Bane?
I'm talking about.
You would rather Klay Thompson over Desmond Bane?
Answer that though.
I'm taking Desmond Bane over Klay Thompson. Yes.
So no, I need to find some medium because Desmond Bane's on the rise.
Yeah, Desmond Bane's literally on the Memphis Grizzlies, thriving.
Gary Trent Jr. I would rather Gary Trent. That's a better player to use. I would rather Gary Trent Jr. on that Warriors roster than Klay Thompson.
I wouldn't.
Why not?
Hasn't proven anything.
No, but I'm saying
he hasn't proven anything.
Do you think you need to prove something to play in the finals?
If you're playing on a damn dynasty that you helped build, they're not.
But we're not talking about his past. We're talking about him as a player right now. As a player. That's what you're taking history too much into account. I'm talking about a player right now.
Think about the Bucks that went to the finals. Like no one on that team has proven that they're finals worthy before they won the finals. Do you think that a player at the caliber of not Norman Powell, Gary Trent Jr. can go in and fill Klay's role in that series to an extent where it was more effective than Klay Thompson throughout the course of the series? Yes or no?
No.
Would you take? Okay.
I'm not taking Gary Trent.
Give reason why.
I just gave the reason. I literally just gave the reason.
The dynasty. You brought up the history though. We told you as a player.
Right. Gary Trent Jr.
You said because he was a
on
part
that
of the
team.
dynasty. No, give me reasoning. Like as
Gary
a player.
Trent Jr. So Klay Thompson went out there. So if Gary Trent Jr. is out there, right? Let's just hypothetically throw this out there. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna pull up the final stats of that year. Somebody for me, please, because we're plugging in this hypothetical bro. We're plugging him in, right?
I'm saying, do you think that Klay
I
Thompson was visible during the finals to an extent where it was like it's Klay, Steph, and Draymond out on the floor, or do you think it was more like a Steph, Wiggins, Poole, then Klay's over? Like, what extent do you think that he's not fallen off?
Yeah.
to?
Also,
where do you view him in the Warriors offense?
Use the situation in the same term.
In the Warriors offense, do you view him as a third option? Do you view him as a fifth option? Like, where do you view him in the Warriors offense, Klay Thompson, where he could be?
Roughly third to fourth. Yeah, I put him in.
He would put. He's the fourth. He's the fourth to me.
I mean, honestly, it depends on the
I
night.
think Gary Trent Jr. as a fourth scoring option would do better than Klay Thompson as a fourth scoring option right now. Don't bring up history and that series last year. Then he would do better than Klay Thompson.
Okay.
So
Cool.
when it comes to guards in the NBA now, we're going to get into some top shooting guards. Tell me if you think Klay Thompson is better than this player. Devin Booker,
No.
Nope.
Oh, just say yes on it. That makes more sense. Yeah. Just say yes on it.
Donovan Mitchell,
No.
Jaylen Brown,
No.
No.
Zach LaVine,
No. Oh, I didn't even put Zach LaVine on my list. I forgot about him. No.
Anthony Edwards.
I forgot about Anthony Edwards. Bro, ESPN needs to get their... Like, they have Anthony
See, I
Edwards
thought
and
he
Zach
was a
LaVine
small
as a small forward. Yeah. That's why my
Whatever,
list is a little
it's-
weird. But I'm just... You go ahead. I'm
Just
not
the
going to say my
caliber
list
of
anymore
player.
because I have
I
a lot of
can't-
guys missing now.
Yeah, I'm just reading
don't-
off Hoops Hype. Bradley
Alright.
Beal,
No.
No.
DeJounte Murray,
No.
CJ McCollum,
No.
Tyrese Maxey.
No.
Yes.
As
You're taking Klay Thompson over Tyrese Maxey right now. I did not just hear you say that. You are taking Klay Thompson over Tyrese Maxey right now.
Yeah.
Why? You need to give me some damn good reasoning why.
I'm not
Because
gonna
Klay
lie,
Thompson's
that's nuts.
Thank you. You need to give me some damn good reasoning why.
Because Klay Thompson's the top 5 shooter of all time.
All time. Right
That's
now. We're
why.
talking right now. We're talking right now.
Saini. I am not about to
Bro,
go
this year, I'll
We
do
are
this year
talking
and
about
last year
right
stats.
now-
I'll do this year and last year stats for Tyrese Maxey because you like to bring up
We
the
are
fact that there's
talking
only
about-
4
we
games
are
a season.
talking
Sure.
about-
This season through 4 games, Tyrese Maxey has 20 points per game on 47% shooting. Last year, he had 17.5 points per game on 48.5 field goal and 42.7 3-point percentage. You were telling me you are taking Klay Thompson over Tyrese Maxey. You are tripping. You are tripping right now, bro. You are tripping.
That's cool. I'm a trip and walk at the same time. I'm chilling.
The way I view it, because I've faced some, I don't agree with you, Z. I've faced some nostalgia bias before with Melo. If I were to look, I feel like this is a similar situation to say he would be a top 10 scorer of all time while he was playing in OKC or those transition years after New York where he wasn't up to par with where he used to be. He's not necessarily washed yet, but I think Klay Thompson's in that stage. As a spot-up shooter, I am not leaving Klay Thompson open. But the fact that he's not this
So wait.
game and gravity player like what?
You just said you wouldn't leave him open. But Sandy was asking me.
I'm
if he
not
had an
leaving,
impact on
dude.
the court.
He's one of the greatest shooters of all time. Like I'm saying,
that's my
no. I'm saying it's not the same. Like I'm not leaving Luke Kennard open. I'm not leaving most shooting guards in the NBA open. I'm not leaving Klay Thompson open. But he does not change the game with running around screens and dragging 2 defenders behind him.
Which is my point. He doesn't change the game anymore. He
I'm
doesn't
saying
contribute.
he used to open up Steph Curry so many looks just by running around the court. He could still knock down an open 3. He's Klay Thompson.
But so can
it's
most
not to the
NBA
same
players.
extent.
So can most
That's what I'm
NBA
saying.
players.
That was my point.
So
That was
can
my
most
point.
NBA players.
So this is my thing. And I like the fact that Kyrie Irving went out and said something along the lines of what I'm about to say, but he said it about Ben Simmons. And it kind of had me thinking, this is something that we do all the time as NBA fans. And I don't understand it. When players are gone and then they return, the expectation is raised to all the way up here. And it is annoying as hell.
Ben Simmons has been gone for 4 games. Klay
to
Thompson's been
watch.
back for like 40, bro. What are you talking about? This is a big
So,
difference.
dude.
Klay Thompson-
Has Klay Thompson played it? Has Klay Thompson played a full season since he's been back?
Has Anthony
Not even-
Davis played
has
a
he
full
played
season
half-
since
has he played
2015?
half-
What is
has he
his
played
point?
Half a full season. Has he played half a full season since he's been back?
If you include playoffs, probably yes.
So and there we go. Perfect, including playoffs.
Probably
so
like 44
last year,
games. If I were to say off the top of my head.
Yeah, close to like 44 games, almost at halfway point.
Okay.
So
past the
until
halfway
I
point.
see, here's what I'm saying, right? I'm gonna give it until I'll do this. I'll give it until it's just 4 games in. I will give it until game 25. 25. I'll give it to game 25 before I can come back here and give you either a yes or no answer on how I'm feeling about Klay Thompson moving forward. Because I feel like by that time, the Warriors are going to have their chemistry in order because it is terrible, and it is not Klay Thompson's fault as much as it is the young guys out there who are missing cues, the veterans out there, Klay included, Steph, Draymond playing freaking lackadaisical basketball. There's just a lot about this team. I am not looking at the Warriors right now and saying that they are at full force.
So it's going to take you 25 games to admit that Klay Thompson is not better than Tyrese Maxey right now.
I'm not going to, I can see Klay bouncing back to an extent.
Exactly.
Tyrese Maxey was nuts.
All I'm saying is if Klay Thompson goes out there this season,
I will gladly say I'm sorry. I will gladly say I'm sorry.
Klay Thompson is the one player from that Warriors dynasty that I like.
Tyrese Maxey. I think Klay's very likable as well. If he's better than Tyrese Maxey this year, I will apologize.
That's where you're getting it wrong. I love Klay Thompson, but we're talking from a factual standard.
I don't see it.
Why don't you see it? Because I'm saying he's better than Tyrese Maxey? Or he's worse than Tyrese Maxey?
That's obviously not why I see it. That's obviously not why
bro,
I see
I'm just naming out facts right now, and you're just bringing up the history to back them up. You're bringing up history. I'm bringing up right now.
You're bringing up 4 games in.
And the playoffs. I talked about the playoffs and last season, too. I talked about how Klay Thompson used to contribute to winning basketball. The gravity used to shift towards him. He used to be able to get Steph Curry open. He's not that same player anymore. I could say a lot of NBA players can be a spot-up, knockdown shooter open. A lot of players can say that.
I cannot say that about a player who is a part of arguably one of the top 3 dynasties of all time. So because of his contributions in the past, and also taking into account his injuries,
So he's regressing significantly. Sandy,
as
a player.
You're not letting me finish. I'm taking into account his injuries. I'm taking into account the hangover after winning the championship. I'm taking into account the fact that the Warriors are not clicking on all cylinders right now. As a team, they're not doing that. So if Klay Thompson does something, starts shooting a little bit better, let's say he starts shooting a little bit better, that gravitational pull that you're talking about is literally going to be on the floor, implemented by the fact that Jordan Poole's out there. And if he gets going, it's going to be the same story as it was in the playoffs, like when Klay Thompson, Steph, Jordan Poole, and Andrew Wiggins and the donkey from Shrek destroyed the Nuggets because of Klay and Jordan and Steph putting up hella points. That right there is what Steve Kerr and Warriors fans are thinking right now. If these 3, our best shooters, can get rolling, we're going to be unbeatable, because then it's going to come a moment in time where you put Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, and Steph on the court at the same time. What are the defenses going to do if they're all on fire? Who are they going to pick? Pick? Klay?
I want to end this off, but my last thing to say is that Klay used to do that Poole Klay work by himself, which is something that I don't think he's capable of, like that kind of pull. With the 2 of them combined, Poole's got a nice pull too.
That whole point you just brought up, Z, is proving the fact that he is regressing significantly, because you're bringing up the fact that he has injuries. You're bringing up the fact that he has injuries and that he's not the same player anymore. What does regressing significantly mean? What do you think that means? What do you think that means? Because I want to know what your point of view is on what regressing significantly means, because I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. He is not the same player that he used to be before. He is not the same player that he was before.
The regression of what you're seeing as an Oklahoma City fan. There's a difference between the regression that you see and the difference between the regression that I've seen.
What does me being an OKC fan have to do with anything?
Over the years. So all I'm saying is this. If Klay Thompson averages 20 points or more this season, he's not regressed. He's not regressed offensively. He's not regressed offensively.
So because I'm an Oklahoma fan, I can't see a regression in a player on another team. That makes no sense. That makes no sense.
You have not watched. So Sandy,
the Warriors are national TV. I live in Canada. I don't get Oklahoma games. I don't get Oklahoma games.
You have said on numerous. So you've said on numerous occasions when we've talked about other teams in the league. Oh, I don't really watch them. I don't really know.
I didn't say that about Klay Thompson. I didn't say that about Klay Thompson.
I don't really.
But I didn't say that about Klay Thompson.
I'm kind of confused here. I don't understand how
I don't watch the
expectations-
Pistons because I live in Nova Scotia and we only get national TV
God.
televised games. The Warriors are national TV. They're always on television on national TV.
Right. And
So I do
and
watch
from
Klay
what
Thompson
I'm
a lot.
seeing-
I
from-
do
from
watch
what
Klay
I'm
Thompson a lot. So
seeing-
don't bring up the fact that I'm an Oklahoma fan to
Okay,
try and downplay
cool.
my points because I don't watch Klay Thompson.
No.
That's what you're doing.
The same way that you're downplaying my points by reiterating yours as if that was the intention of my statement. That's
Because
what
your backup
no,
argument is that he has
no,
injuries and then he's not as good as he was defensively. That is regressing significantly.
Sandy, there's a difference between Klay Thompson regressing significantly, and this is the difference between our points of views. I'm gonna tell it to you right here, right now. This is the difference. I say Klay is regressing significantly, and I predicted that he would regress on the defensive side of the ball. That is not an issue for the Golden State Warriors as a whole.
But that's a team. I'm talking as a player.
They play team defense. As a player, Klay Thompson averaged 20 last year. The year before that, he averaged 21. The year before that, he averaged 20. He did it on a little bit less efficiency from the field. He averaged 39 in 2019, 39%, I believe, 36% last year. So I'm giving the man a damn chance to play a significant amount of games with this team from the start of the season to get to the promised land. That's what I'm doing. I am giving him an opportunity. I am not jumping the gun, pressing the panic button or the target button or any other button. I'm sitting here looking at Klay Thompson, and I'm giving this man a chance to gel with this new team as well, because they're not the same team as last year. I am giving the man a damn chance. You're pulling the plug way too early.
I'm not pulling the plug. Don't say that because in my points, I said that I would love to have Klay Thompson on my team, and I still think he's a great piece to have on a roster, and I think that he's a great shooter. My point was he doesn't affect the game like he used to before. He doesn't have that gravity pulling him towards him. I'm not as scared to leave. Like Klay Thompson is not as much of a threat to me as he was before. That was my point. I said don't look at just the stat sheet. We're talking eye test as well. Klay Thompson's presence on the court has changed significantly compared to the presence he had when he was an all-star. I was going to say superstar. I meant to say top 5 shooter of all time. He still is. But when he had that name to him where it was like, Klay Thompson's on the court, well, fudge me. We have to figure out a way to now guard both Klay and Steph. Klay Thompson to me now plays a role that a lot of other NBA players can play right now. Before, there was Klay Thompson. You could not name a player that could play the same role as Klay Thompson on the efficiency that he played it and the presence he had on the court. Nowadays, I can literally name you a handful of guys that can do what Klay Thompson does now. Because Klay Thompson.
So let me ask you this. What would you do if you were Bob Myers? What would you do with Klay Thompson?
I never said get rid of him, and I never said that he doesn't deserve to be on a roster. That's where me and you are. I would put him on the bench. Personally, I think Klay Thompson should come off the bench, but if they have that ideology to bring Jordan Poole off the bench because he's more of a spark, I understand that. But Klay Thompson, in terms of basketball skills, I think Jordan Poole is a better player than Klay Thompson right now, and if we're talking a starting lineup with the best talent, then Jordan Poole starts. If you want to put Klay Thompson on the court because he's just a spot-up shooter to play beside Steph to start the game off, I also understand that, and I'm not saying Klay Thompson can't start on other NBA teams. He definitely can. That's where you are not understanding my point. When I say regress significantly, I mean that Klay Thompson beforehand used to be able to do something that nobody else could do. There are a lot of guys that can do what Klay Thompson does now because he's not as great as being a presence on the court anymore. He takes a worse shot selection now. His stock selection, his IQ with his shots has not been great lately. His defense, like you said, has regressed. He is still a great spot-up shooter. He's still a top 5 shooter of all time, but there's a lot of guys that can shoot the ball because this is the NBA. This is the NBA. Where you have the most talented basketball players in all the world. So there's a lot of guys that can play the same role as Klay Thompson. I never told you that Klay Thompson doesn't deserve to be on a roster. I told you that I used the word washed harshly, and I never brought up the fact that he was washed once in this podcast. I said that he has regressed significantly. And when did I say he was washed? I said regressed significantly. And I said that, and at the beginning I said I harshly used the word washed in the live, and I took that back.
Okay, fair. Great. So with all of that being said, if Klay Thompson has regressed to you, Klay Thompson has regressed to me. I think Klay Thompson has regressed more to you than he has to me, to the point where I don't look at it as a big deal because I'm giving him time. You're looking at it as I need to put him on the bench right now. And I respect that. I do, because that's how you see it. I can't be mad at that. I just think that bottom line is, prior to this argument, I had said where I thought his regression was going to take the biggest hit defensively. Offensively, I don't really think he's going through a regression as much as he's just trying to find footing, not only with another new team in the last 8 months, but coming and trying to play a full season. That's that's where
I think offensively he regressed as well. I think he can't run around the court like he used to be able to before. I think he's more of a standstill shooter. He can't shoot off the dribble as well. He doesn't shoot off the dribble as effectively. He has a spot on a lot of NBA rosters. He's still a great player, deserves to be in this league for many years because as a shooter, if you can shoot the ball, you have a spot on a roster. I am a firm believer of that. But Klay Thompson beforehand, he used to be that guy with Steph Curry, which was one of the most deadliest backcourts in NBA history, where they're just running around and the second they touch the ball, it'll go in the net. I can say that same thing about Steph Curry. I can't say that about Klay Thompson, which is why I say he has regressed significantly. Regressing significantly doesn't mean you are a bad NBA player. Regressing significantly doesn't mean you don't deserve to be on an NBA roster. Again, but you are avoiding the fact that Klay Thompson is not the same player as he used to be. And when I say he regressed, I mean that look at him beforehand. When you bring up the dynasties and you bring up how they came up and how they were a dynasty, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Yes, I understand that, which is why I say he regressed significantly because he is not at that same level that helped that dynasty get to that spot. Klay Thompson, without Klay Thompson, they don't have that dynasty. The same thing I could say with if they don't have Steph Curry, if they don't have Draymond Green, and if they don't have Kevin Durant. I could say this, well, maybe Kevin Durant because they went to the finals once without him, but I could say that the same thing about each of those players. Nowadays, if you take Klay Thompson off that team, I could say this team is still a contender. They could still compete. They couldn't compete without Klay Thompson before. They can compete without Klay Thompson now.
Well, they could compete without Klay Thompson in 2016 and 17. I would say, right? Could you say that with KD? I
took Kevin Durant out the equation when I'm talking about the big three.
It's
Kevin Durant. That's unfair to say because you're putting Kevin Durant on the best regular season team of all time. Come on, like you take Steph Curry off that. You take Steph off that team, they can still win, right?
Okay. Okay. Let me just also say this since we're at the end of this segment. Hopefully, I finally calmed down. I can breathe. My heart rate is back to normal. Let me just say, I sincerely apologize for saying that Klay Thompson was better than Tyrese Maxey.
I was about to say, by the end of the show, I was going to make you say that with your chest.
I couldn't say it in the moment. I had to calm down. But now that was me just seeing red and seeing red and yeah. Tyrese Maxey is better than Klay Thompson, confirmed by ZZ Huncho. Let's put that on the record books, please.
I was about to have a lot of fun with that clip.
I was mad. I was mad. I was so mad. But I was thinking in my head, like, this could go viral for real, so I might not say nothing.
Well, it's time to get into our next segment. Shai Gorgeous-Alexander. I've come across as a Shai hater throughout my tenure on TikTok, starting off with a Shai-Ben Simmons comparison back when Ben was still playing with the Sixers. He looked like a decoy candidate. I said Ben was better. I had the thought in mind that he could develop a jump shot. I thought he was a good enough offensive player to where he would not pass up a layup with Trae Young contesting him. And Shai was still a very young player on a bad team with a lot to prove. So that at that point, I think it was more of a 50-50 split of people with Shai or with Ben. Obviously now Shai's the much better player. But recently on this podcast, we had a Young Cores segment talking about, who would be winning a championship with their young core presently. And I said I didn't think the Thunder could because I don't think Shai is the first option on a championship team. So I also said that he would never be a top 10 player in the league. I want to reiterate myself with a calmer tone because while I still believe the things I said, I think Shai is an absolute bucket. Never said that he wasn't, just the comparisons I've made with him makes it seem like I'm a hater because I'm always going against him. I think he's one of the coolest players in the league. Awesome fashion.
Sure.
His play style is he's very good one-on-one. He's smooth. He's quietly explosive. He's just very aesthetically pleasing to watch. So this is, you thought it was intense before. It's not going to get very intense because I want to talk with a calm tone the entire time. I don't want this to happen again. Because I was already sweating just watching those two. But when it comes to Shai being the first option on a championship team, I said 1A, and by 1A I meant like the best. I know in 1A in terms of 1A, 1B would mean the slightly better player. That it's a possibility if the Thunder create an insanely good defensive unit and they have some sort of 0-4 Pistons run where there isn't, I was trying to say that Shai is not going to turn into a Luka or a Giannis or
I could agree with that.
Player.
That's not.
And when you look at the first options on championship teams, it was Steph, it was Giannis, LeBron, Kawhi with the Raptors, KD, Steph. It's Tim Duncan. You got to go back a while. till you get to, I mean, you could say Dirk was a superstar in 2011, I'd say. I think superstar level means that you can have a top 5 caliber season at any point. I think there's 8 superstars in the league right now. And I don't think he'll reach that status with the amount of talent in the league that he'll ever be, a top 5 player in the NBA. I don't think he'll have a top 5 season for a player in the NBA at one point.
I will say this, and I'm very biased. You can see the Shai Gorgeous-Alexander jersey in the back. But I'm going to disagree with you, Hoop, in terms of the potential that he can have a top 5 season in the NBA. That doesn't mean he's a top 5 player. There's a lot of guys that do better than other players, but I would still put them over them as a player, but we're just talking in that season. I think he can have a top 5 player for that season moment in his career for sure. I think his bag is so deep and people don't realize that because he plays on the Thunder. They're not national TV. The Thunder are the only team, because I'm a fan of them, of course, so again, this could be really biased, that are usually don't show up on live national TV that I watch every game still. I'll still go out of my way to look them up. I'm not going to go out of my way to watch a Pistons game. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to go out of my way to watch a Jazz game. But I watch every Thunder game. And sometimes, especially his ISO play, you give him the ball, he can get around anybody and go in the paint, and the way he puts the ball in the net is weird. I'm like, oh, that's getting swatted. He's going up too lightly. And it just, goes in the most majestic way. His fashion relates to his style of play.
I agree.
It's just swaggy.
Really
the guy is really swaggy. He's really smooth. I believe that he can have a top 5 season in the NBA because I feel like once he works, every year he's working towards becoming a better player efficiency-wise. He was great efficiently in his first few seasons because he had a guy like Chris Paul or he was on the Clippers beside him. He was never that number 1 option. Then when he became the number 1 option, obviously he took a bit of a dip efficiency-wise because, it was his first time playing that role, but I feel like every year he's getting better at it and he's learning how to be that number 1 guy on a team. I definitely think that in these upcoming seasons, he could just randomly pop off and have one of those top 5 player in the league moments, or for that season, of course. But in terms of talent, I'll agree with you. I'll never put him over the top 5 guys in the league because there is too much talent. But again, I never want to count anybody out. There's a lot of guys that I also believe can have a top 5 season in the NBA.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm not gonna count him out, but I can see your side of it, and I'm not saying it's ridiculous for you to say that.
I was going to say, I'm going to agree with Saini on the fact that I think he could also have a top 5 season at some point. And I say that because there is a lot of talent. I agree with the talent aspect. There is a ton of talent that I just don't think that SGA, right now, I just don't think he'll be able to overcome it because of how much hype and craze that the young talented guys already have now. It's going to be increased drastically over the next 5 years. But I still believe that this OKC team is eventually gonna make some noise. And once they do, they could have a moment like how last year. You remember how last season when the Grizzlies had made it to I think the 4 seed or the 3rd seed, everybody was talking about Ja Morant being top 5 in MVP voting and things like that. DeMar DeRozan has one good week. Everybody's like, yeah, he's things like that. If SGA and the boys are able to put together something to get them 5, 4, 3 seed in the West, again, get them back to that prominence, I could totally see it because they just have the young whippersnapper ability in them. And SGA has literally, he's just progressing and progressing. I was watching the game last night, and this man, his one-on-one moves against Reggie Jackson just were he was putting that boy to work. Pause. I think he was going crazy. And like Sandy said, he has weird ways of finishing. You would think it would get swatted or potentially even rim out, but so yeah, I could totally see it. And everybody already knows that no matter what the Thunder do in the coming years, once they actually have that moment, SGA is probably still going to be looked at as the number 1 guy between him and Chet. But my money's still going to be on SGA most likely at that time. So yeah.
So I want to rephrase the top 5 season because if you're looking at top 5 in MVP voting, for example, a DeMar DeRozan types, he could have one of those. My superstar, the thing I said about the superstars, I think there's 8 of them in the league right now. I think Kawhi is on the back end only because he's coming off injury. He could be a top 5 player for a season. That's what I meant to say, not a top 5 season. You could say DeMar had a top 5 season. I don't think he could be a top 5 player for a season. That's what I should have said. Okay. That's why I think Dirk could come and win a championship. He has a godly year. He's a top 5 player for a season. I don't think that's what I was saying.
Fair.
But when it comes to him being a top 10 player at some point in his career. This is where it gets more dicey. But if we look 2 years from now, right now, Shai is 24. He'll be 26 at that time. The superstars in the league, I think most of them will still be in. Like, I don't think any of them will retire. You got Steph, Giannis, Kawhi, KD, LeBron.
Do you think Steph will
Jokic.
still be a superstar in 2 years? Superstar level?
I mean, do you expect him to regress?
I don't expect him to
That
regress, but I think superstar is a term thrown around lightly.
Well, I think in Steph's case, he'll probably be looked at as like he'll be looked at as like a legend. Like
but do you
never
see,
more,
for example,
hold on.
like sidetrack, sorry, but do you think LeBron James is a superstar right now?
Yeah.
Like he's playing at a superstar level?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
to me, he's up.
Like,
It is only 4 games in the season, sure, but let's say LeBron keeps up the same play. Hypothetically, I'm just saying, LeBron keeps up where he's still like an all-star, obviously, and he's still like a top player in the league. Would you label him a superstar, though? Would you label him the same thing as
LeBron's a superstar. Something terrible has to happen to him
He would
for him to
have
not
to-
be a superstar.
Okay, I understand that because his
would have to wake up as
of
Russell
course,
Westbrook.
I understand that his past, of course, sure.
I guess what I should have said is those players are going to still be in the league. LeBron,
Right.
Durant, Jokic, Luka, Embiid, Giannis, Steph, Kawhi. That's 8.
LeBron in
2
2
years
years a superstar.
No, I didn't say. I'm not saying superstar. I'm saying
they'll
those
be
are
in
the
the league. They'll be in the
superstars
league.
that will be in the league in 2 years.
Sure.
They will also, unless again some injury happens, crazy amount of regression, they'll be at the top of the league. Like, I don't see Kevin Durant being the 20th best player in the league in 2
100%.
years. Like, he could
100%.
regress, but he'll be up there. Then you look again 2 years from now, the people that are Shai's age, which is Jason Tatum, Trae Young. At this point, both of them have had more playoff experience. By the time we're 2 years from now, Jason Tatum has a good possibility of getting either an MVP, a ring, or both. Like, and Shai would still be in the rebuilding Thunder. I think his first chance to make the playoffs will be the year after next year.
For sure.
They could be a playing team, but to make any sort of playoff noise, he'll be 26 by then. Then you got Ja and Luka, who are both 23. They'll be 25. This is 2 years from now. So this is when all the top superstars, if you want to count out LeBron, Steph, and Durant, okay, Kawhi will only be 33. Jokic is prime year. He'll be like 30. Embiid, similar. Giannis. And then, Luka, John Morant is already like a top 15 player. You got Tatum and Trae Young. And a lot of, like, in 2 years, I think most times players will come into their own in their third year that are going to be stars. For example, John Morant took that third-year leap. A lot of times for those stars, they take a third-year leap. Luka and LeBron are different. They'll have like a second-year leap. But for 2 years from now, I'm not going to mention like Victor because that would be an insane leap. There's a possibility, but there's, aside from the guys I mentioned, there's Zion, there's LaMelo Ball, there's Paolo Banchero in 2 years who could take a third-year leap. There's Devin Booker's just there. And Edwards, Cade Cunningham. A lot of the centers that get filtered out. There's Bam, there's Darius Garland, there's Scotty Barnes, there's Tyrese Halliburton, there's Evan Mobley. There's other guys who will take a Donovan Mitchell type leap, like where they're unknown. There's still Harden, there's still Dame, there's PG. This is talking in 2 years. I think it's really hard for Shai, who is a fifth-year leaper at this point. This is his 5th year. He's taking his 5th-year leap. When he's barely touching the playoffs to be a top 10 player in 2 years. But then, if we go ahead 5 years from now, that'll be like right around, Shai's probably going to peak where most players peak at like 27, 28. He'll be 29 by then. So let's say, LeBron, Steph, KD filter out. You're still worrying about, then you got to worry about Victor, Scoot, the other guys who are taking their third-year leap. There's so much talent. There could still be a Kawhi or a Dame roaming around. There's too much talent in the league for someone like Shai, who's taking a 5th-year leap. He could still continue to develop. I've just never seen people develop into their 6th and 7th years. I think that's really, really difficult. So when I see guys like Luka and Tatum who are taking the 2nd or 3rd-year leap into players who can emerge with a Finals MVP, they could be the best player on a championship team. They could have a Finals MVP potentially. It's hard to put Shai over those guys, especially when he's playing in OKC, where he's not going to see the playoffs for 2 years, and he's going to have to build his playoff resume as a scorer, as a playmaker, in a really short amount of time. And he's going up against guys like Ant Edwards, who can potentially, Ant right now is in his 3rd year. We're expecting a 3rd-year leap. It's tough with Gobert and Towns and Russell, but you get what I mean. He has the potential to do that, along with a lot of other guys. If he's facing off with those guys in the playoffs, he's going to be playing with some of them too. So I can't imagine a situation where Shai is the best player on a championship team where he's going up against Luka and another, whether it's Victor, like these other super teams of young players, and he emerges out on top as the best player. He could totally be a killer second option with, I mean, there's so much young talent. If he ends up with the Raptors with Scottie and Pascal, like he could be a killer or maybe a first scoring option, but not the best player. Like it's really hard to see him leading a team like Steph, Giannis, LeBron, Tim Duncan, like in years past, where he is running through the league as a superstar. When there's this much talent in the NBA, a lot of it is filtering out slower than it has before. Guys like Steph and KD and Giannis are playing later into their careers. Jokic and B, they're not going anywhere. And the young guys are getting better quicker. Old guys last longer, young guys getting better quicker. So when Ja's a fifth-year leaper on a team that's not going to give him playoff experience until he's 26, he only has like a 3 or 4 year window where he can be a top 10 player in the league potentially. And he would have to take another leap because as of right now, he's averaging very impressive numbers. What, it's like 30, 31 and 7. Let's say it drops down to like 29 and 7, like on like a slightly worse shooting, but you get what I mean. That's on a team where he's taking 23 shots a game. That's his field goal attempts per game right now. If he's on a better team, those numbers naturally go down if he wants to win. I have to still see if he could put up those big numbers on a winning team. I don't know. There's just way too much talent and way too much to be left to be seen for me to say that Shai can be a top 10 player in the league.
Obviously, I don't want to give my opinion on it because I'm very biased. I will admit that. He's my second favorite player in the league behind Westbrook. Second favorite player of all time at this point because he's becoming such an OKC legend. To me, at least, because I love the guy's game. Bro, if you watch every Thunder game and you watch Shai, it's weird how swaggy he is. And that's my favorite style of basketball to watch. Like, I love guys that just have the ball in a yo-yo.
I feel you.
And he's also like super swaggy off the court. Like, I'm really into like fashion and stuff as well. So like to see that, like his culture impact on top of his like basketball impact.
That Fortnite Balenciaga jacket.
Yeah, come on. Hey, you know me. I'm built like that. But I obviously, like, if I'm gonna speak from a unbiased NBA like standpoint, like from like if I were to gun to my head, obviously like there's a lot of right in what you're saying. There's a chance that it can happen, just like there's a chance that anybody can blow up randomly.
There's
right?
a chance.
100%. He has the assets to make it happen, but so do a lot of other NBA players, which is why I can agree with you. But I have hope that he's going to have a season where he really cements himself in the league as like, hey, this guy is a major threat and he can win. I think Oklahoma is on the come up very soon. I think that they will be, once again, a threat in the West, just like they were in the 2010s. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe other than the Spurs, the Thunder were the biggest threat in the West. There was like a stat about it. It went Spurs and then Thunder. It went Spurs and then Thunder in terms of best teams in the West for the majority of the 2010s, like the whole decade. I'm not saying that's going to replicate in 2020s because obviously half of it were tanking, but I think they can get back to that level of like, shoot, we're playing the Thunder in the playoffs. And Shai is like that guy on that team.
Because OKC, what's it called? The Chesapeake Bay Arena. What's the arena called?
Vivint Home or something?
No. It's not Cheapspake or whatever anymore. It's Paycom. It's a new.
See, I was about to say back in the day, OKC playoff time, like
Cheapskate Arena. It's the same with Paycom.
That bro, I literally remember watching back 2016, 2014, 2015, like just watching how that like it must have felt if I was on the opposing team and I had to walk into OKC territory playoff time, like it just through my TV, it feels like a swarm of just,
literally, bro. They're passionate. Like Oklahoma has for sure one of the best fan bases in the NBA. For sure,
yeah.
They have the loudest fans. They come out and they support through thick and thin. They're passionate about like as a Thunder fan, you guys should know you work with a Thunder fan. Like we're about that, bro. Like it's I don't care what happens. Like I'm gonna back them up no matter what. And the noise is there. And we're not gonna be like the Knicks running around calling them trash after the game and those street interviews with Spider-Man interviewing them. Come on. Yeah, but we're talking the majority. Us Thunder fans, we bleed blue, bro. We bleed blue. But we should probably move on. Because
well, can we agree to disagree though? That what I'm saying is.
Oh, I told you I agree to disagree. Like, I'm biased, so I think that there's still potential that Shai could tap into a whole nother level. But from a logical and a realistic standpoint, yes, I see what you're saying.
I just think compared to the other young guys in the league that have not taken the leap yet, I would give Shai the lower hand because he's in his 5th year. And aside from this, like it's hard unless he gets traded to like the Raptors. I know a lot of people are pushing for that. And plays in a new scenario while he's young. It's hard to make yourself a better player, especially when you're revolved around skill when you're at his age.
Sure.
Because, for example, guys like Ja, LeBron, they'll develop jump shots and become better playmakers. He's already an elite playmaker and a very deep bag. It's hard for him to, he's not going to get faster. He's not going to get bouncier. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to get more dominant as an athlete. So I think what we're seeing now, if he has another step in him, go for it. I mean, I'd love to see it. I just think it's really hard. So I just want to clear my name with Shai. I think he's a terrific player. But if we're talking top 10 in the league, I think guys like Luka, Jokic, Embiid, Ja, like they're maybe not Ja, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of those guys are going to hold those spots for a while.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talent coming into the league that will, I think.
Wait, why'd you say maybe not Ja?
No, I said maybe not Ja specifically for injuries concerns.
Oh, I feel you.
Let's head into our next segment though, because I know this episode has been running really long, but it's been entertaining.
It's been very entertaining.
This or that points per game edition. So if you guys are new to the show, we've done this or that before. And I have this set up as like a 7-game series type thing where I have 7 players or 7 different rounds for you guys.
Wait, so we have to guess the player?
No, you have to guess who averages more points.
Okay.
So I'm gonna name off 2 players. At first, it's a little obvious because I know Instagram's been like.
Is it through four games?
Yeah. It's just like just for reference, if you're listening to this later, it's October 27th, and the games on October 27th haven't been played yet. So every game leading up to October 26th, with these points per games, some of them are a little wild. I'm not gonna lie. Some of them seem obvious, but then aren't. Like, I'm trying to trick you guys, right? So.
Okay.
We have 7 rounds for you guys, and we're gonna see. We're gonna add up the scores at the end. This or that, who averages more points per game, Christian Wood or Anthony Davis?
I'm gonna say Christian Wood.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Christian.
I think
Christian Wood averages 24.3 points per game. Anthony Davis averages 24.0. You are correct. Christian Wood averages more points than Anthony Davis. Second one. Benedict Mathurin, who's my favorite rookie right now, other than Chet, but Chet isn't playing, or Bradley Beal?
I'm going Benedict Mathurin.
I know they're both in the low 20s. I'm gonna go Brad Beal.
Benedict Mathurin averages 20.8 points per game. Bradley Beal averages 20.5. Z gets a point because you guys tied the first one, so 1-0 Z right now. Gary Trent Jr. or Gordon Hayward? Don't look it up, Hoop.
I'm not looking it up.
I just saw Gary Trent, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know Gordon Hayward, so I'm gonna go Gary Trent. I'm gonna play it safe.
I'll go Gordon. The Hornets are losing LaMelo Ball.
Gary Trent averages 20.2 points per game. Gordon Hayward averages 19.8. So Z is up 2-0 right now. There's 3 rounds left. Can who pull off a 3-1 Cavaliers comeback?
You suck.
Jaden Ivey or Fred VanVleet?
Give me Fred.
Give me Jaden.
Jaden Ivey averages 16. Fred averages 15.8.
Let's go!
That's 3-0 for Z. So Z's already won, but we'll continue. Colin Sexton or Klay Thompson?
Colin.
I'm wondering if. Give me Colin.
Colin averages 10.6. Klay averages 11.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
you guys both
actually
got that wrong.
crazy.
Yeah, Colin had a really bad game. Kevin Huerter or Aaron Gordon?
Aaron Gordon. Those Jokic cuts.
Wait, what was the first question?
Kevin Huerter or Aaron Gordon? Kevin Huerter is a guard on the Kings.
Kevin Huerter.
Aaron Gordon averages 15. Kevin Huerter averages 16.7. Hoop is missing today. Hoop is missing today.
This is a guessing game. I know Z is not what a one king game.
Yeah.
I have actually.
Jordan Poole. Last one. Or DeAndre Hunter.
DeAndre Hunter.
He was very serious. I'll go Jordan Poole just to mix it up.
Jordan Poole was 15. DeAndre Hunter is 15.3.
Yeah,
it's wild.
I just got slept.
Yeah, you actually just got smoked.
ZZ Huncho smoking on that hoopology pack. Yes, sir. We don't promote drugs, though. So that was figurative.
No, sir. Very figurative.
Yeah, I think that's all we have for today's episode, though. We
Let's
ran
go,
really
Dubs,
late.
Dubs.
Don't take any of this episode out of context. I love Z. Z loves me.
Facts.
He does think that Tyrese Maxey.
He does think that Tyrese Maxey. I might edit that out just to piss you off. No, I'm joking.
Don't be in the comments like, it wasn't me. No.
But that was an intense episode. I think me and Z can agree to disagree. I think we both weren't understanding what each of us were trying to say.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Hey, but you know what? Here on the podcast, we argue, we fight, we make up, and we praise LeBron.
Hoops.
So we're gonna continue to do that.
Hoops like the child that just has to watch his parents like argue all the time, and he's just like, "Stop it, guys!" And we kept going, and he kept trying to tell us to stop, and we were like just screaming at each other.
Once I said, "Oh, hold on, guys," like 3 times, and you guys just kept screaming.
I didn't hear that. I did not hear that.
I did. I just chose to ignore it.
I ignored it. Yeah, I was just like, I wasn't even like, you know how on Discord it shows like a green box when you're talking. I'm directly looking at Z. I'm not even looking at Hoop's box when we were arguing. Like I was like, but this was a fun episode. Episode 22.
Hold on, because I'm not gonna lie. So for the people who are out of the fights, Z and me, who do you have in said debate? I would take Saney the first one. I think Saney won the first one.
What, the Klay Thompson one? There was only one debate.
Yeah. No, I'm saying the Klay versus the Shai thing.
Wait, what?
What?
You said Shai was a top 10 player in the league.
Right.
Or Ward would be a top 10 player in the league. I said he wouldn't be. Whose side would you take, Z?
Between Shai and wait, I'm confused.
No, for the last half an hour, I was talking about if Shai can be a top 10 player in the league. But I don't think he can be.
Right.
And Saney said he thinks he can be. Who do you side with?
I think, oh my God, I think Shai might have a season where he just slips in. I
thought I had a killer monologue. I went on for like 6 minutes with no.
But the thing is, I admitted that I'm biased as hell. I'm biased as hell.
Yeah.
I'm biased as
I
hell.
had it.
Wait, Hoop, what are you talking about me then? Oh, like I won the Klay Thompson debate with Z?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
All right.
And you and Hoop didn't have a debate. You and Hoop didn't have a debate, so I can't.
Yeah, we did. I swept a minute, remember?
Oh, yeah, well, Z won.
All
right, well, thank you. We'll come in on episode 23, and hopefully we keep this energy.
Yes, sir.
Peace out.